Click it or ticket. When you get into your car, you probably reach for your seatbelt. That's a good safety habit. It's also the law in nearly every state. This has not always been so. The first seatbelt was invented by Edward J. Claghorn back in 1885, but early seatbelts were not about accident safety. Their purpose was to keep people inside their cars. Those early roads were so bad that people could tumble out. During the 1950s, the rise of the automobile put one in nearly every household, but people didn't worry much about safety. Seatbelts were not standard on cars, and hardly anyone used them. In 1956, President Eisenhower approved the building of the National Highway System. Completed 35 years later, this network of highways let drivers go long distances on smooth roads at higher speeds. Sounds like a good idea, right? In many ways it was, but the new highways had drawbacks. In 1965, consumer advocate Ralph Nader published a famous article. It was called Unsafe at Any Speed: The Designed In Dangers of the American Automobile. This article raised public safety to the front of people's minds. Thanks to Nader, the U.S. Congress passed the Highway Safety Act and the National Traffic and Motor Vehicle Safety Act in 1966. New laws required car makers to include seatbelts in all cars built from that time on. But the federal laws did not require people to actually use the seatbelts. That was up to each state. Today, in 33 states, officers can ticket drivers or passengers just for not wearing seatbelts. In 16 states, officers can only issue seatbelt tickets if another traffic violation has also occurred. New Hampshire laws do not require adults to use seatbelts at all. The statistics suggest that seatbelts do indeed save lives. From 1981 until 1997, according to the National Highway Safety Administration, seatbelt use increased 11%. In the same years, automobile deaths decreased more than 6%. So when you get in a car, don't forget to click that seatbelt. Number 1. Read the paragraph from the passage. During the 1950s, the rise of the automobile put one in nearly every household, but people didn't worry much about safety. Seatbelts were not standard on cars, and hardly anyone used them. What does the use of the word standard show the reader? Choose two answers. A. The seatbelt belts were not used very often. B. That almost every household had a car. C. That cars were not built with seatbelts. D. That automobiles were not safe. E. That seatbelts in cars were uncommon. Which paragraph best supports the conclusion that automobile safety is still an issue today? A. Paragraph 1, B. Paragraph 4, C. Paragraph 5, D. Paragraph 6. 3. Part A. Which sentence best shows the main idea of the text? A. People should always wear their seatbelts. B. Seatbelts are an important factor in automobile safety. C. If you don't wear your seatbelt, you run the risk of getting a ticket. D. Automobile safety has changed over time. Part B. Which sentence from the passage best supports your answer in Part A? A. That's a good safety habit. B. New laws required car makers to include seatbelts in all cars built from that time on. C. Today in 33 states, officers can ticket drivers or passengers just for not wearing seatbelts. D. The statistics suggest that seatbelts do indeed save lives. Number 4. Who advocated for the use of seatbelts as safety devices? A. Edward J. Claghorn. B. President Eisenhower. D. Ralph Nader. C. Ralph Nader. D. U.S. Congress. Select 2 sentences that best support the conclusion that seatbelts were not considered important safety devices in the early years of automobiles. During the 1950s, the rise of the automobile put one in nearly every household. But people didn't worry much about safety. Seatbelts were not standard on cars, and hardly anyone used them. In 1956, President Eisenhower approved the building of the National Highway System. Completed 35 years later, this network of highways let drivers go long distances on smooth roads at higher speeds. Sounds like a good idea, right?